All right, we're going to take a closer look at the VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions in Excel. So I've got two sections set up, one to practice a VLOOKUP and one to practice an HLOOKUP. So in VLOOKUP, I've got a table here below with different cars, wheel size, number of doors, and then the price. So what I want to do is in this cell here, return the car price based on whatever car type I type into this box. So right now I have Mazda 3. So we'll do that one first and we'll make sure it works by typing in a different car type after and double check. So our VLOOKUP formula will do equals VLOOKUP and our opening parentheses. The first thing we need to do is say, okay, within that table, what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for whatever I type in the car type box. So I'll leave that like that. The next one, I have to pick my table array. So in which area of my sheet am I trying to find this Mazda 3 car type to return a value? So that's down here. Make sure you don't get your headings in there. They're not supposed to be included. Other thing, often, like in this case, we're not going to fill this cell anywhere after our formula is done, so I don't need to use absolute references here or dollar signs. However, oftentimes you do, so make sure that you pay attention to whether that table array should be using absolute references or not. So I've got my table, hit my comma to move on the next item. So the next thing we need to do is tell it which column we want to return our value from. So it's going to find whatever car type I put in here, and it's going to return something from here, here, or here. So this would be column 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking for it to return the price, which would be column 4. So I need to type 4 into the box there. Then a comma to move on. So the last thing is true or false. So true says, look in the table and find the closest thing to what I'm looking for. False is find me exactly what I'm looking for. Well, in this table, I am looking for the exact thing. Sometimes when you're looking up like tax rates or things like that, an approximate match is necessary. In this case, we want an exact match, so I can either double click on where it says exact match or I can type in false. Either one works. So I've got my formula done. I'll hit enter and I return 28,900, which happens to be the price on the Mazda 3 line. So that worked. Let's try and do Honda Civic and make sure that works. Okay, Honda Civic, it returned to 32,000. Down here, 32,000. It worked. Perfect. So let's do an HLOOKUP, which I don't think we've had in any of the exercises, but it's equally as useful. So HLOOKUP here is appropriate because our table where we're looking things up in is formatted in a horizontal fashion. Over here was in a vertical fashion with headings at the top and then data down below. Here it's where headings are in the rows and then following each of those things in different columns is our data. So here we want to look up our wheel size. So I'm going to use HLOOKUP, opening parentheses. So what am I looking up in my table? Well, I'm looking up whatever I type in this car type box. So I'm going to do that. Next thing we need to do our table array. Again, select your table, pay attention to absolute references if you need them, and make sure not to include your headings. So I'm good there. Next, we have to tell it which row index number to look up. So it's finding the car type in the top, and it needs to know whether to return row number 2, 3, or 4. Well, I'm looking at wheel size here, so I need row number 3. So I'm going to type in 3, get my comma in there, and then again, like before, true or false, I need an exact match, so I'm going to select that. I'll close my parentheses and we'll see if that worked. Honda Civic, 27 inch wheel size, numbers I made up. I'm not a car person. So let's make sure that it works. So I'm going to do BMW M3, updated to 30, double check. Yep, BMW M3 is 30. So that is your run through of VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Hopefully that you find that helpful.